Every year, we work with James Herman, who, as you can see there, is founder of Previously Unavailable, but he's written a book called Cases for Creativity. If you haven't read it, you absolutely should. And every year, we work with him and WARC to produce the Cases for Creativity, which is the gold standard for advertising. We feel it's like the holy grail, where campaigns that get a gold Cannes Lion and also get a gold Effie. So the combination of the two. So we've been doing this for 5 years now. And it has been obviously incredibly interesting to see how that has progressed. In the last session, though, so we produce this in January every year, James identified that the Cases for Creativity last year, of the 15 cases that had that holy grail scenario of the Gold Lion and the Gold Effie, 9 of them were for not-for-profit or for corporate responsibility. So only 6 were for actually brand selling. So that led him to ask the question, are the agencies losing their ability to produce the magic for the brands?
Is creativity losing its ability to sell? And I would say, absolutely it is not. I would say creativity is probably more powerful at selling than ever. The question that comes to mind really is something that I go back to thinking about, certainly of my generation starting in advertising as creatives. First of all, we wanted to know, what are we selling? And that, if you think back to the brief that you're given, what are you selling? Who are you selling it to? These are kind of the tenets on which all great creativity is applied. So what are you selling? Who are you selling to? Who is selling it? Who is selling this product to the consumer? And I would add to that probably, what's their point of view that makes them relevant to consumers? It's beholden on us, clients and agencies, to work together to answer those primary tenets of what will make creativity all the more powerful to sell a product. Millennials, despite what all the kind of hubbub out there, millennials spend more than their previous generations. They don't spend less. They are more loyal, weirdly enough, than previous generations, a lot of research tells us. And guess what else? Just because they don't consume it always, but often they do through traditional channels, they consume through social channels, it doesn't really change much because mobile, social, it's all video today anyway. So at the end of the day, we may place it in a different part of channels and medias and way of reaching people. What we place there has never been less important to be clear and hugely creative to be memorable.
Advertising agencies, and I think a lot of brand owners, have got quite overexcited about the idea of brand purpose and its attractiveness as a platform for communications, or indeed winning Cannes Lions. It's also true that this is not a new idea. I mean, in the post-industrial revolution society generally in Britain in the 19th century, there were quite a few companies like Cadbury springs to mind, and there were other Quaker-based companies who went to unusual lengths to not only make successful soap brands or chocolate brands or whatever it was, but also to look after the community that were working for them, to improve conditions and all the rest of it. And that lasted well into the 20th century. So, I do think there is, an argument to be made here for continuing with this kind of approach. I just agree with Malcolm that it's become perhaps too specific and too kind of copycatty in terms of the way people are doing it. It's crazy to say it's not a good thing to be conscious of your role in society. I would just be skeptical about pinning all of your communication and your brand messaging around that.
Advertising is, it's at its best, it's kind of glorious and fun and amazing. But in reality, the thing that we contend with on a day-to-day basis, it invades our homes, it's a blight on our landscape, and I think it's kind of incumbent upon us to make the things that go out into the world and kind of force their way into our vision as appealing as possible. And I guess my frustration recently has been the agenda within our industry has been wholly self-serving. I believe that advertising needs to do good in the world, absolutely. Everyone needs to do good in the world. Everything that we do needs to have a positive impact, but ultimately what we do, we put on ads. and they're little films or little posters or little online experiences, and that needs to be the best that they can be.
I don't think creativity has ever been more necessary than now. I mean, we are working in a culture where it's search, skip, or share. You need to earn people's attention, and I think that's the fundamental challenge will always remain. How can you doubt that serving people can actually be beneficial to your brand? The question is, how do you do that effectively? A more recent analysis of the Brand Z Top 100 found that if you're in the top third, according to how people perceive the brand to be pursuing a purpose beyond profit, i.e. it's not just in business to make money, then the top third of brands grew 170%, 3 times as much as the brands in the bottom third.